Hi everyone, it's Alicia. Welcome to the channel. So this is going to be a little bit different. I kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit about what I went through with my sinus surgery. At this point, when I'm recording this, I am not quite 2 weeks post-surgery. So basically what I had, they call a bilateral endoscopic sinus surgery. But when I look at my other paperwork, and they give you tons of it, I had a nasal septum repair. So I have, my septum was deviated, so they fixed that. And I didn't have the one where they break your nose or anything. I had no, black and blues or anything like that. And then I also had Septoplasty. So that's the one where they don't break your nose, but they go in and do all kinds of things. And so those were the surgeries that I had now of course I've moved. Most of you know I've moved in July. And one thing I will say, and I'm not trying to diss, anything about where I lived or anything like that, but since I've been here, I've received a lot better care, I feel like, as far as doctors and hospitals, and everybody here seems a lot more friendly. So take that for what it's worth, but that's my personal opinion. So I had been suffering for a really long time, years upon years upon years, with sinus issues. I've been on tons of medication, so I probably take enough antihistamine to kill a horse. And I'm not going to share a bunch of gory stuff on here, but if you don't really want to get into medical or don't really care about any of this or aren't interested in it, feel free to kind of tune out just in case something might be gross for you or something. But basically what happened was, when I moved here in July, I was sick for just since basically I got here. So I came here and moved here. Within like 3 weeks I was sick. And originally I was like, okay, well, it's allergies, and because I do have allergies to things. And so I went to an allergist. I had an allergist before, and he was wonderful, but he retired. He was 77 when he retired. Wonderful, wonderful man. And he kind of got all of the patients that nobody else could kind of fix. So when I had gone to my allergist where I lived, they were like, oh, we send everybody here to this guy. And so it took me like a year to get to a regimen where, I had a full regimen. It was like nose rinses in the morning and sprays and medication in the morning and medication at night. It was crazy, but it worked. And I wasn't sick all the time, because I had been sick for like 2 years all the time, like, sinus infections, etc. Right? So I get here in July, like within 3 weeks, I'm sick. I was sick all the way up. I just had surgery on November 25th. So I was sick. And so I went to the allergist, and like right now I sound really good. I'm just saying. And this is 2 weeks post-surgery, because before this I was worse. It was so bad. And so when I went to the allergist, they did like 160 or something tests. So the thing with allergists is that when they test you, they can only test you for things that they have serums for. So for example, if you're allergic to a dog, right, they have a shot that they can give you that they over time increase until you're no longer allergic to a dog. For me, I had all of the tests. They do skin tests they did them on my back. The back is the best because it shows more than your arm. Like sometimes they'll do like an arm test. That doesn't come up as good as a back test. Now, in order to take those tests, you have to go off of all of your allergy medication, which was horrifying, because even on the medication, I was still sick. And then I had to go off of it for a week, which I don't think was long enough, to be honest, but that's what it was. I was basically dying. I just felt like I was dying. Obviously I wasn't, and using sprays and all kinds of things. I was allowed to use certain things, but I couldn't use anything with an antihistamine in it. The antihistamine would fight against, the test that they were going to do. So they take a needle, put all these things under your skin. They look at them and see. They use There's one that's like tells you whether or not it's working. They do that one, and that one itches like crazy. And of course that means everything's working, and that was fine. Everything was negative. They sent me for like 5 pages of blood work. It was crazy. All the stuff they tested me for, because you don't have to do the skin ones. You could just do the blood ones, but a lot of times you can catch different ones, depending on which way you go. And you don't need to be off antihistamines for the blood ones either. So I had gone ahead and did all of those, and it was like, I don't know, 140, 160, whatever it was. It was a lot, because I think it was 60 on my back, and I have no idea how many there was on all the tests. But anyway, everything came back negative. So I ended up going to an ENT, and by that time, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure like I have a sinus infection. Like, I probably had a sinus infection for forever, right? Because at this point, I'm sick for like 3 months in a row. It's horrifying. You don't feel good every day. It's hard to concentrate. You know how it is when you get a sinus infection. So they had, gone in there and poked around and whatnot. And she says, well, I can see right here you have a sinus infection. Okay, great. So put me on the medication. I got antibiotics and steroids, Medidose pack. And so I did that. I went back. I still was sick. So they put me on another round of different antibiotics. So then I went for a CAT scan, I think it is. It's a CAT scan where it's just like this really small machine. You go and you lay down, it goes and you're done. It's literally like 2 minutes. And that shoots everything around in all different directions and gives them all the imaging. So after I saw the ENT, I got that done. That got sent over to the surgeon because what they found was just bad. And the ENT had said, this is beyond anything I can help you with. Like, you have to go to the surgeon. So I went to the surgeon and we had discussed it. And so, something I had never thought of, and I guess it's really common sense, right? Is just because you don't come up as not allergic to something doesn't mean you're not allergic to something. So number one is you could be sensitive to something. So, when, for example, for me, if I go somewhere and somebody's wearing a heavy amount of perfume, my nose closes immediately. So either I'm sensitive to that because it's not one particular thing. It's not like, this one perfect perfume or whatever you want to call it, right? This is the one I'm allergic to. It's any smell like that. I can't use Glade plugins, any kind of plugins in my house. I don't use candles, nothing. So any smells like that just really annoy my nose, and then everything closes. Can't breathe at all. So what she had told me was, those are all things obviously they can't test you for, right? They're not going to test you for perfume and all kinds of crazy things. So you can be allergic to things that aren't testable. So as we went through the scan and they realized, you have pockets up here that are part of your sinuses. You have in here, of course, all your sinuses here. And so every pocket that's basically available for my sinuses, everything that you see on a scan should be black. And black means that there's no fluid in it. Every single way that she showed me, from the back, from the side, from the front, every pocket that was in there, minus maybe like one, had fluid in it. And we couldn't get it out. I mean, I had been on antibiotics and steroids. I think I did steroids twice. And I was on antibiotics for like, I don't know, almost 3 months. So they kept giving me like 21 days. So at that point, they tried to do a swab to see like, okay, are we giving you the right antibiotic, whatever. But because I was on antibiotic, that came back negative. So that didn't work. So then eventually she just came in, and I had a female surgeon, and she came in and said, look, here's what we really need to do. We need to go in and we need to get rid of, some polyps and move your septum and do all of these different things. And they can do all of that without breaking your nose. I've seen other things where, you have to break your nose and black and blue and everything else. And I just, definitely didn't want to do that. I mean, not that I wanted to do this, but I felt like I really just didn't have any other options at the time. So Anyway, I had the surgery on the 25th, prepped up for it. So preparation is just basically, you know, these are the meds you can take. These are the things you shouldn't do. You know, you can't eat or drink. You know, it's a typical surgery stuff when you have an anesthesia. So I didn't feel like I had a lot of information about this surgery. They give you a whole binder full of information, but and she was very good about it. She said, you know, do you have any questions? I asked a lot of questions, but you know, when you're asking questions, you don't know what you don't know. So there was a lot of things that I didn't expect. So I had literally, I'm very claustrophobic. And so my biggest concern was, am I going to be able to breathe out of my nose at all? I asked that several times. And several times I was told yes. That is not the case. So maybe other people, because I know once you kind of get in and doing surgery and things like that, that, you know, you can find other things or other things need to be done, and that causes, you know, things to be a little bit different. And everybody reacts differently too. But I didn't expect for, you know, not to have any air movement in my nose. So again, I got surgery on the 25th. So Thanksgiving was a couple days later. My birthday was on the 30th of November. All of those days were horrifying. So when I come out of the hospital, they just give you like a little gauze pad that's kind of taped, and it's just to kind of catch some fluid. There's, you know, you're going to have some bleeding, you know, because somebody was just rotor-rotoring in your nose for 2 hours. The surgery was 2 hours, by the way, which again, I did not know that it was going to be that long. I was a little bit shocked. I went into the hospital at 10:40 and we got home at 4 o'clock. Once I got home, I won't go into too much detail here because I do not want to gore anyone out, but I did end up in the emergency room. So I could not stop the bleeding, unfortunately. So we got home around 10 p.m. The fact of not being able to breathe out of my nose at all, like right now I have airflow at least. It kind of sounds like I have a cold, but I don't. But I'm pretty happy with having some airflow at this point, but I did not have any for almost a week. So that was a Monday, and by Sunday I had started to get a teensy bit, but not enough to like be open for any amount of time. So fast forward a week later, and it was a week and a day. So the next Tuesday I went in, and what they do is they go in and they kind of clean you up. They go in there and they kind of clean you up, and you know, you're just sitting in a chair. I mean, they numb you. And lesson learned on that is that if you're going to ever have this done, whenever you go in for any type of follow-up appointment, always take some pain medication. I did not, because I was not sure what to do and I wasn't advised, and I ended up almost passing out. So definitely advise that if you're going to go for the surgery. So once I'm, you know, a week past, so like Monday will be, today is a Saturday. So in 2 days, it'll be 2 weeks. And so once I kind of got past that and they got some of that out, and I have a little bit better airflow, you know, I kind of feel back to where I was before I got the surgery, which is not really sick, but, you know, just having that like little stuffiness and that kind of stuff. You do have to sleep sitting up, you know, for quite a while. You do have a lot of other restrictions. There's a lot of nasal rinsing going on, icing, things like that you have to do. Activity is a little bit restricted. They don't want you exercising, or, you know, I can't wear I also have sleep apnea, and I can't wear my CPAP. They don't want air blowing like that in or out, because, you know, you're using it, right, but you're trying to heal as well. Also did not know that this will be a full 3-month recovery. So Could be sooner, but, you know, for full recovery, to have everything, you know, to the way that it should be, basically is a 3-month process, is what I've been told. So anyway, I wanted to kind of give you guys my experience with what I went through. I am on the mend, and I'm glad to be able to be back on video with you guys. You know, if I sound a little weird, that's why. But if you've ever had this, or have any comments, or have any questions, let me know. And hopefully, I don't know, maybe this helps somebody or not. And I really, really hope that it's worth it in the end. So I will be checking back in with everybody and letting everyone how I feel about it, you know, after doing it. I don't think I would do it again. It wasn't pleasant, but if it works, it was definitely well worth it, and they did take really good care of me. So anyway, thank you for spending the time with me today. Thanks for listening to my story. Don't forget to like and subscribe.